Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and every once in a while, I think I'm going to run out of things to talk about on this channel, and then I read an article about publishing, and yeah. So, standard disclaimer here, please do not harass anyone named in this video. It would make you and me both look bad, and it's just rude. Don't do it. So today we're going to talk about don't use your unwritten book ideas as marketing. You know, I don't like don'ts because I'd rather subscribe to Mr. Rogers' beliefs of do's rather than don'ts, because people remember do this better rather than don't do this. This was just so egregious. We're going to have to step back and talk about what marketing is actually about. So I was reading a Vox article from the beginning of February about how if you want to be an artist now, you have to self-promote, most likely on TikTok. I've discussed this stuff before because one of my themes on this channel is marketing and branding, pulling from my fashion experience. I've mentioned how hard it is, how many artists and authors don't want to do it. Authors and artists shouldn't have to do it. If you want to try, here are some ideas I've seen that have worked. I think I spent most of the month of December of 2023 on this topic. But here we are again. We're going to do some more marketing stuff in this video and upcoming videos, I hope. And so I was reading the last third of the article, and let me read. So Leigh Stein, an author and writing teacher, views the creator economy not as an adversary to arts professions, but as a tool to make connections. I try not to be a cynic. If this is the state of the creator economy, how can I thrive in it instead of wasting time complaining about how I wish it were better, she says. One pet peeve of mine is writers' reluctance to get on social media because they don't want to share their ideas in public. It's like, well, why do you want to be a writer? Isn't that the whole point of writing, that you have ideas you want to share? You should be sharing those ideas in public all the time. Now, I really want to give Miss Stein here the benefit of the doubt. Despite the fact I know she's sitting on a space of a great deal of privilege as a writing teacher, not listed on her website where, and a traditionally published author of 2 poetry books, 2 novels, and a memoir, and as a regular contributor to many newspapers and magazines. This whole pet peeve of hers comes off as ridiculously naive. I can't tell, and honestly don't know, if Miss Stein has ever been part of a writing or author community in any way, shape, or form. I can tell you right now, the beautiful organic artistry of the Tumblr story of the God of Arepo is not typical of the writing community. The God of Arepo started out as a prompt from Writing Prompts S, was written out as a short story in the replies by another user, was expanded upon by yet another user, and then a third gave an ending. Well, a fourth user gave an ending, because we have to count Writing Prompts S as the first user. Then the fifth user created a comic on those short stories. Then I saw a hobbyist bookbinder actually bind said comic for their own personal use into a beautiful book. And then yet another user, we're at 6, created off yet another Writing Prompts as post another short addition to the God of Arepo lore. The original short story author at some point went, "Hey, you guys can do whatever you want with it. You have my permission," thus throwing the God of Arepo into public domain. So more comics were made, an MP3 music composition, more hobbyist binders bound it into books with covers. It's lovely. And I mean, it's really lovely. No one, by the way, as far as I know, is profiting off this in any way, shape, or form. And at this point, I wouldn't even know how you do it because that's way too many people. I'd love a scene of the great Tumblr short stories turned into comics, but organizing such a thing might be next to impossible because this has happened more than once. And it's lovely. It's beautiful to watch. However, this is not normal. Beautiful, but not normal. It might come to an end because of a greedy CEO obsessed with tech buzzwords. What is normal is a lot of ego and catfighting and "you stole my idea." People who put up imagines or add onto hashtags like bad book ideas are not always happy when other creative people go, and remember, hey, an idea isn't copyrightable, this one sounds fun, watch me do something with it. Or they put up something on their blog about, the book they're writing or ideas they have for the book they want to write, and somebody comes and reblogs it and is like, "Oh, this is a writing prompt," when it really isn't a writing prompt, and it's them trying to hash things out. They can get rather upset about that, justifiably. Okay? I have gotten into, let's call them, discussions about this, and had to point people to US copyright law because that's where the Twitter servers are located, and have them go, "Oh, you're right." Thus, I've always advocated to not post your poetry on Twitter, and if you're really fond, I mean super fond, of some of your writing advice or writing uplifting comments or whatever, don't post it to Twitter. Don't. Because it's not copyrighted, especially if it's under 50 words. So people can steal it, and there is nothing you can do about it, and nothing Twitter will do about it. So yes, please remember, ideas are not copyrightable. If you put your idea out there, then there is a very large and random chance someone else out there on the internet will see that idea and very well may do something with it. The more detail you put out about your idea, the more chance of them accidentally, or even on purpose, putting up something very similar to the book you want to write. Let's use my own published book as an example. My big black books, here, are biker werewolf fantasy novels. Okay, that's the general idea. Well, urban fantasy, but post-apocalyptic urban fantasy. But that's a very general idea. Werewolf only, urban fantasy, cozy werewolf drama. Sons of Anarchy meets The Expendables. Jim Butcher meets Anne McCaffrey. So, if you want to write a biker werewolf urban fantasy, I don't care. Good for you. That's a very general idea. You can do a lot with it. I have lists of things and a synopsis of an universe, years of material I want to work with, including a crossover with a werewolf airship pirate adventure. My books are very much slice of life with some adventure slipped into it, with a very slow burn romance subplot. So you might want to make your werewolf biker novel more noir flavored, or They Solve Crime, or Underworld, or World of Darkness versus Vampires. I don't know. I don't care. Okay? I probably won't read them just in case I accidentally pull something out of the well of my brain, just like it would be with fanfic. You have fun. Writing should also be fun. I get it. The details of my stories, the town I created, and the area I've visited, because yes, I've actually visited South Dakota, The characters I have, some of which are based on real people in my life, and the research I've done to create the lore I have, those details are what make my story, and put together with the plot, make it something copyrightable once it was published, once I made copies. So I was careful not to share the intimate details of my story to the world till after I published it. And if you're smart, you'll do the same. I can say, hey, I'm writing a vampire rom-com, but if you have any notions about rom-coms, you're going, Ginny, that's next to useless. I know. And there's a lot of reasons why authors might not want to talk about their ideas to the World Wide Web. More than they're afraid they'll be stolen. Okay? Authors might not have as many ideas as you think they have. Or they do have ideas, and those ideas are great ideas, but they need things like a fleshed out plot, or more world building, or deeper characters, or characters at all. Some writers are much slower than others about this. I have several ideas sitting there languishing for plot and my hyperfixation to get around to them. I also have ideas sitting there with outlines and me going, is it even worth the bother to write this due to publishing things? Ideas I've talked about on Twitter and had people excited about, and then me realizing my health is not so great. I don't know when I can get to this. Maybe I ought to not get people's hopes up. Even though I'm excited about those ideas and want to talk about them, especially when they involve science, because I love science. I love adding just enough real-world science to my stories to make them believable, and talking about it is just cool. But at the same time, getting people's hopes up. Getting people's hopes up sucks. I've been around long enough in author spacers, both original and fandom, to know, so I'm trying not to do it anymore. They might be going, Ginny, we love you, take your time. And I'm going, I want you to be happy. I'm sorry. Authors, in general, do need to talk about their ideas. They need to talk about those ideas to those weird friends they have who understand them and will lift them up and will encourage them to think more about the ideas and be George the Husky. He's so cute. I have Becca and I have Graham, both of which are very helpful, though I do apologize to Graham because I know he's not like Becca and may not understand. I'm going to get to this one day. I promise! As years go by. Becca's been with me long enough by now and is also a writer herself to know Ginny has a lot of ideas and she hops between them. That's just the way it is. But they're fun ideas and we enjoy talking about them. Find your person or group of people to do this with as an indie author. It will greatly help you as a writer, is, have your rubber duck George the Husky to talk out your ideas with, talk out problems, bounce ideas, that type of thing. It will greatly help your process, I promise. As long as you trust them. Now, if you do this on the World Wide Web, out to the echoing black void of strangers, you aren't going to find your people. You're going to find a lot of people who are going to tell you, you're stupid, you're a bad person, and a whole bunch of other cruel and nasty things for just being yourself. It isn't worth the mental or emotional anguish. The black button is a handy thing too. Please remember to use it when those people come calling. They won't make it about your idea. They'll make it about you personally. I have had someone tell me, that's stupid, before, and I was far enough along in my writing journey to just roll my eyes at them, because I've believed there's no such thing as bad ideas for a very long time, just bad execution of ideas. Even as you're writing, your execution of your ideas may change. They might mutate or merge with another idea. They'll be chopped up into bits and spread across a field of fertile imagination to germinate more ideas. You use an idea as marketing. People are going to have expectations, and if your book greatly changes from those expectations, people may not be as understanding or forgiving as you'd like because they had a concept in their own head of what your book was going to be, which is, hysterical. But here we are. Lastly, sharing ideas isn't going to get you readers. It just won't. Take my word on this one. I have been there, I have been around, I have seen this for a very long time. Sharing ideas will get you authors. If you are trying to sell a book, the last thing you want to is a feed full of authors. That's why I also say, as an author, don't do writing advice on your social media feed. You aren't going to get readers. You are going to get authors. Been there, done that. Just take my word for it. Done that experiment. Other authors most likely won't buy your books. The authors in my author feed, most of them did not buy my books. I have bought a few of theirs. In the long run, most of the authors just didn't do it. Didn't buy my books. It's not going to get you anywhere. Okay? So back to Miss Stein and her bit about the pet peeve of authors not sharing ideas all the time on the internet. Please be aware, as far as I can see, her Twitter is not filled with book ideas. I don't know Mrs. Stein's ability as a writing teacher, but as a marketer, this is probably some of the worst advice I've ever heard. Lovelies, marketing is about a product. No one cares about your ideas. They want a book. They want something they can pull up on their phone or their Kindle and, or hold in their hands. They don't want your ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen, and I'm sure a lot of them are going, I should write a book. I have an idea. And then don't do it. There's a reason why agents are asking for the first 5-10 pages of your manuscript when you're a debut author. It's not until you have a good 4 or 5 books under your belt you can get away with submitting a synopsis pitch and get a contract for it. They want product, not ideas. They cannot sell ideas or even trust you can deliver on those ideas until you've proven you can by writing out your ideas into books in a timely fashion. Marketing is a job. It's a job many artists and authors do not want to do because if they have a publishing contract, then the publisher should be doing a lot of that marketing. Now, because of TikTok and other social media, there's a parasocial, everyone needs to be an influencer brand aspect to marketing your books. It has to be parasocial because no one wants to feel like they're watching a constant stream of ads. The type of marketing these algorithms demand would have an author doing 2/3 of their life marketing and less than 1/3 writing because many authors still have to keep a day job. It's not sustainable for the average author to post to TikTok every day. It's not necessarily sustainable for them to post to Insta even 3 times a week. And then if it goes viral, you've used a book idea, you've got maybe a year to pump the book out. Can you write a book and edit it in under a year? You have to be honest with yourself about this one. Most authors I know can't. That's why in traditional publishing, you generally do write 1 book a year or 1 book every other year, especially if they're this thick. Thinner ones, maybe you can do a year. Something at 80K, between 40K and 80K words, maybe you can pump out 2 a year, especially if you're in the romance industry. Now, I don't want to sit here and complain about how this is not good. It's a statement of fact. It's not good. Putting marketing on creatives is burning creatives out. And having creatives toss a bunch of ideas that would be easily scrapable by language learning models into the mix is actually not going to solve anything and in fact make things that much worse. I'm sure Miss Stein thought of that sometime in her newsletter about how the internet is affecting publishing. I don't know. It's on Substack and I don't feel like subscribing. For a woman who's trying to set herself up as an authority, I can find next to nothing about her authority to make me trust her as an authority, by the way. So, lovelies, don't use your book ideas as marketing. It's not going to attract the people in the feed you want. There's more worries about other authors stealing them. There's language learning models as well, which is a new scary, not so fun thing to think about. And well, the hard fact is no one cares about your ideas, and if that idea does go viral, you'll have a year to pump it out. This has already happened more than once, so just be aware. And the books were, at least one book was a complete and utter dumpster fire. So yeah, marketing is about product. The book. If you have a stream of ideas you aren't going to use, like Writing Prompt S does, though Writing Prompt S kind of scavenges from all sorts of pop culture, from D&D to movies to books. Very fun sometimes. Oh, I get that reference! Then create a writing prompt channel or a writing hashtag game. Don't use them for marketing your book. And I would say put it under a different name, because, you know, like, you have you know, Ginny Zero author for marketing your books, your product, and then have a Ginny Zero writer for things like writing advice and writing prompts and stuff like that. I didn't ever set up my stuff that way. Probably should have, but yeah. So if you're going to do that, you're going to have something that's going to attract people to, you know, your books, to read your books. So something to attract readers, and then something to attract authors. But don't use them as marketing. Don't use writing ideas, book ideas for marketing for your book. You know, especially ones you haven't written yet. Create your own channel for them. Writers will love you or hate you. Readers will be happy because they don't get their hopes up on books you may not ever get to write. I'm sure Miss Stein means well. So again, please do not harass her. I'm sure this is part of a greater conversation she's been having with students and others. And probably the students are just as frustrated as she is, because it's possible they can't articulate why this is such a horrible idea. It's just, I've been in these author communities for 20 years, in fanfiction and on the original side. I cannot foresee sharing ideas as marketing ending well. So, take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Bless, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.